No scripture can mean that God is not love, or that his mercy is not over all his works. So wrote John Wesley in the sermons. There's a degree of intellectual honesty about this, and it continues to make Wesley very appealing to many people today. If you look in the little booklet John Wesley Among the Scientists today, you'll quickly discover how motivated and committed and indeed excited he became about the science of his day. He did this because it would help to illuminate the gospel for his day. Well, what about our day and age? Would Wesley stand among the scientists today? Would he desire the preachers to do so? Would he want the whole church, so far as was possible, to stand among the scientists? Of course, the answer, in my opinion, is an unqualified yes. I've never known a congregation not to grow, in the long run, the more we opened ourselves up to the fantastic, the fabulous, the phantasmagorical nature of the universe in which we live. There's a real hunger in people. I've discerned that their desire is to find their purpose in life, to find their purpose in relation to this universe in which we're placed. Now, like John Wesley, I'm not so enamoured of science that I think it can provide all the answers. I believe that the quest for truth in matters of science means that sometimes we're wrong. I've occasionally made errors when talking about such things as astronomy. For 22 years I would occasionally preach about the curved nature of space-time, only in the last year or so to discover that the astronomers now believe that the nature of the universe may be Euclidean, that is, a flat universe. I was a bit of a loss for words over that when it became apparent to me. However, the scientists may well find evidence in the future to the contrary, and that's the nature of science. Well, I wish it were the nature of theology as well, so that there was a degree of interaction always going on. Irrespective of the scientific theories of the times, Wesley would definitely be found among the scientists in their quest for answers about the ultimate origins of the universe. That is, the origins of life, the origins of how matter came to be. He would want to know what the cosmologists have to say to the theologians, and vice versa. Now, John Wesley may well have been the man of just one book, the Bible, but he certainly read very widely about science. Just listen to this quotation from one of his sermons. "When I looked upon the glory and usefulness of the sun, I admired the God that made it, chalked out its motions, placed it in due distance from the earth for its use and conveniency. When I looked at the stars, those huge and wonderful balls of light, placed at that immense distance from the inferior bodies and from one another, their multitude and their motion, I admired the wisdom and power of that God, whose hand spans the heavens and has fixed everything in place. Nay, when I looked upon the poor little herbs that arise out of the earth, and considered the secret spark of life which is in every one of them, that attracts, increases, grows, produces seed that preserves them, and their kinds, the virtues that are in them for the good, medicine, and delight of the more perfect creatures, my mind was sweetly carried up to the adoration and praise of that God, whose wisdom and power and influence and government are seen in these footsteps of his goodness." John Wesley may well have instructed his preachers that they had but one great and glorious task, and that was that God had raised them up to save souls. But it's the same John Wesley who would conduct tests in animal psychology one New Year's Eve. He hired a musician, one who plays upon the German or transverse flute, to go to the tower with him so that he could play music to the lions and the tigers to see how they would react. Why did he do this extraordinary thing? Simply, he records in his journals, "I thought it would be worthwhile to make an odd experiment." Came John Wesley, who delighted to do experiments with electricity, not only for the purpose of healing people. He believed that the power of electricity and magnetism could relieve people of rheumatism and other illnesses, but he supported Benjamin Franklin when Franklin's theories were excluded from the Royal Society. John Wesley would have simple electrical machines that he would delight to take round to the schools so that children could be instructed in the ways of physics. It's the religion of the heart that is the greatest Wesleyan aim, the best aim of all, to love God with all one's heart and soul and mind and strength. To do it, he employed his formidable intellectual capacity, and he asked those who gladly preached and those who gladly heard the preaching to do no less. Blessings.